Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to my channel. In this video we're going to be reacting to 5 ways British and American plugs are very different. Now before we have to get into this video, I have to quickly state that I believe 95% of you guys who are currently watching this content are not subscribed. So it would mean the absolute world to me, guys, if you hit that subscribe button, as it's quick, easy and completely free. And if you do enjoy the content, it would mean a lot. But yeah, without further ado, let's get it on with this reaction.
Firstly, you can't and definitely should not attempt to open an American plug because there is purposely no easy way of doing so. Unlike with British plugs, you can't simply unscrew them, which perhaps explains the online absence of helpful diagrams. Hello, I'm Lawrence Brown and I'm on a quest to uncover all of the...
He's definitely got lockdown haircut, hasn't he? Look at that crazy haircut.
memos that Britain and America lost in the pond, and one of those memos pertains to plugs. Not bath plugs, ear plugs, or plugs that would definitely get me demonetized, but AC power plugs. On the face of it, you might find it hard to believe that these little things warrant an entire listicle, but the differences run deeper than just their physical appearance. From the prongs to the voltage to the things you don't see, the difference in British and American plugs has long been a highly charged issue. Pun intended. I often hear concerns over getting the right...
He's always trying to get those puns in every single video, isn't he?
...adapter, not getting electrocuted. And what do these switches on British wall outlets do? To answer that last question, they're simply for the sake of convenience. You can switch off the power at the wall without having to unplug and replug every time. That's it. Anyway, these questions are...
Yeah, I was actually quite shocked about that. I didn't realise... I was talking to a couple of American people. They just don't turn things off. They just don't have it.
All a result of people getting their wires crossed. So for anyone dreaming of a post-pandemic holiday, join me now to stay current on all things...
That was a good pun. That was a good pun. I'll give him that.
AC plugs. Here are 5 ways that British and American plugs are very different.
Advert. Type.
Why suffer broadband rage? The UK's first unbreakable Wi-Fi from BT.
Oh, 2 adverts. That's very
reliable
cheeky.
broadband and the right connectivity set.
To lend some context to what I'm about to say, it's worth mentioning that different plug designs are not just some random quirk of their respective nations. Plugs are designed according to type and are generally used in multiple countries. For instance, in America, Type A and Type B are the preferred standard, and they look like this.
There's 2 different types.
The case of...
There's just 1 type in England.
In the rest of North America, Central America, parts of South America, and to some degree Japan and Saudi Arabia. In Britain, Type G, which is this one, is the standard, just as it is in Ireland, Malaysia, Malta, Singapore, Bahrain, Sri Lanka, and Saudi Arabia again. What's going on in Saudi Arabia? In short, there are 15 types throughout the world, A to O. In today's video, I'll only be comparing Type A and B with Type G, mostly because Britain and America is the niche in which I deal, but also because the Maltese and Bolivian markets have a wealth of untapped potential. So let's compare plugs. It was once said by me in just a second from now that you can tell a lot about a country by the size of its plugs. And given its unparalleled record of boasting larger stuff than everyone else, America might fancy its chances of winning the "my plug's bigger than your plug" debate. But the truth is, and you might find this shocking, British plugs are larger. Hey wife, my plug is bigger than your plug.
I don't have a plug.
Alright, and go back to the studio. Suffice to say, this size differential stuck out to me like a sore thumb when I first moved here. To be fair though, I did have a sore thumb when I first moved here. But it's not just the main covering on British plugs that makes their American counterparts look like a tiny village in Arkansas. It's also these.
That is quite strange that they're different sizes. Does it change like a different amount of like wattage going for it? Or is it just the same amount but smaller? It could be because they don't have the top one, the top prong.
You can't talk about AC plugs without talking about prongs. Prongs are the protruding sticks of metal that keep the plugger joined to the wall like a docked plane. And the only reason I...
Wait, does that mean that American plug sockets don't have gates? Because you know our top one, it goes in and then it unlocks the bottom 2 so you can actually plug it in. Because it stops people electrocuting themselves.
Made an aviation simile there was to draw your attention to the miniature control tower I made from British and American adapters while I was bored. Anyway, there are several key differences in this department. On British plugs, the prongs are ever so slightly longer and crucially thicker. This makes them sturdier and impossible to bend. How do I know that? Because I was 14 once. But whereas British plugs, that is, Type G plugs, are decidedly triple-pronged, that's not always the case in America. Sure, Type B plugs, the ones whose sockets look like surprised ghosts, definitely do have 3 prongs, but Type A plugs, which are easily the more outgoing and competitive of the two, are bipronged. What's the difference, you ask? Well, Type B is a grounded plug and Type A is ungrounded. You see, this rounded third protrusion is known as a grounding prong that connects with the grounding wire. It prevents things like electrocution and fire hazards when plugging into larger appliances like TVs. And this is great because it means I can safely watch Mr. H and his friends reacting to my videos.
I really like his humour. He's got such a dry British humour. I really like his videos, I have to say. He's up there as one of my favourite creators.
Meanwhile, the question of grounding brings us on to a rarely mentioned...
That was like a subtle flex right there. Subtle flex, you know, best creator.
British-American word difference. In Britain, we don't refer to this as a grounding wire, but an earth wire. With this in mind, it sounds like a great time to move on to this. As a child of the British school system, some images will forever be imprinted in my brain. For instance, school uniforms, mangled goalposts and the suspicious signature on my school reports, but I will also forever remember the inside of a UK plug, and not just because of the Assembly Hall incident of 1988. You see, we did an entire module on alternating current in which we got to dissect a whole plug, or a woodlouse if your name was Darren Briggs. In general, it's important to say that you should not disassemble plugs unless you know what you're doing. That said, inside you have 3 wires, which nowadays all bear the same colour coding. The aforementioned earth wire is green and yellow and performs the same duty as the grounding wire in American Type B plugs.
I've taken plugs apart before, but that's only really to change the fuse. Or well, I've seen my dad extend them, don't know why.
Then you have the blue neutral wire, whose purpose it is to shift electricity away from the appliance, and the brown live wire, which does the exact opposite. Together, the live and neutral wires form a complete electric circuit. American Type B plugs contain much the same wiring, except with some caveats. Firstly, you can't and definitely should not attempt to open an American plug because there is purposely no easy way of doing so. Unlike with British plugs, you can't simply unscrew them, which perhaps explains the online absence of helpful diagrams. But from what I can gather, Type B plugs contain a grounding wire, a neutral wire, and, cue word difference number 2, a hot wire, which serves the same function as a live wire. The grounding wire is often green and yellow, just like in Britain, but sometimes it's just green or simply a completely bare copper wire, as in stark bollock naked. The neutral wire is white instead of blue, and the hot wire red or black instead of brown. Due to the manner in which each country feeds the wires into the plug, there's also a difference in how they hang from the wall socket. In Britain, the wire hangs vertically from the plug, thus making it harder to yank from the wall by pulling the cable. And the horizontal connection of American plugs means that you can do this in theory, but it's not recommended. And while we're on the subject of safety, that brings us on to this. One of the biggest concerns
My question here.
for Americans visiting Britain, aside from being forced to eat mushy peas, is the Great British American voltage divide. In Britain, residential voltage is categorised as 230 volts, while it's generally 120 in the US.
Oh wow, so the air is a lot stronger.
Moreover, British mains electricity operates on a 50 Hz frequency and America on 60. What does all of this mean? Well, let's just say that you want to use your American laptop in Britain, but it doesn't run on 230 volts, is not dual voltage, or is incompatible with 50 Hz. In that instance, you'll need to run to Toshi Station to pick up some power converters. A power converter will convert the voltage from 230 to the voltage of your laptop. In the event that your power converter doesn't come with a Type G plug adapter, be sure to also pick up one of these. This plug adapter is magic. It allows you to turn your Type A or B American plug into a Type G British plug. If your device does run at 230 volts or is dual voltage, you can use this without a power converter, but do check. For Brits visiting America, the same applies, but in reverse. You'll need the opposite type of adapter so that your British plugs fit into American sockets. A step-down power converter or transformer might also be needed to safely use devices in the US. Both are widely available for Americans and Brits on
Wow.
Amazon. That's it for this episode. Let me know in the comments below whether you've experienced the other countries' plugs, and feel free to add any further observations below. I'm Lawrence Brown. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter at LostInThePondUS.
There you go, guys. And if you did want to watch the original video or to check out more of his content, again, his name is Lost in the Pond, but I'll be linking it in the description down below, as he is actually pretty good. He's a very funny guy, and I do watch a lot of his videos, and I do react to a lot of them because they're actually quite entertaining, and it's quite nice to watch an American type video, but with a British sense of humour, and, well, I'm British, so it's quite nice. But yeah, before we end this video, I have to quickly state that, as I said at the beginning of the video, 95% of you guys who are currently watching my content are not subscribed, and it would mean a lot if you guys could hit that subscribe button. And even if you're feeling a bit generous, you can hit that notification bell as well, as it's quick, easy, and completely free. But if you don't want to subscribe but you still enjoyed this video, all I can wish is that you like the video and comment down below, because those things help me get a bit more recommended out there and hopefully expand the little community that we're trying to grow here. And yeah, I hope you're having a great and splendid day, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.